the command to come out of her in Revelation 18:4 is a warning to God's people to escape the judgment that is to come upon Babylon the Great. The false religious system had her time of influence when the kings of the earth committed adultery with her, and the merchants of the earth grew rich from her excessive luxuries. Verse 3. But she is the subject of God's wrath, and she will be judged. Her sins are piled up to the heaven, and God has remembered her crimes. She will suffer a quick demise, and one day her plagues will overtake her. Death, mourning, and famine. She will be consumed by fire. Verse 8. And the great city Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again. Verse 21. God calls during the tribulation to disassociate from Babylon the Great. They must come out of her. Revelation 18:4. Have nothing to do with the false religion of the Antichrist. Separate from that system and its sinfulness and have no fellowship with her. Do not commit spiritual adultery, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. The whole point here is to say I've been feeling that come out of her. It's like a serious thing for 4 years, although I've not really spoken about it until more recently, because what do you do when someone doesn't see something and they don't realize? But 2020 was a pretty good. 2020 to me was a lot of stuff, and I can't say what everyone else has seen from it, but from what I've seen, I'm not sure, there's anything we can do about this. The people participated, and the people went along, and the actions went, and then the obvious reactions to the actions and results of the actions have come. I'm sitting in the city right now where they just put a 90-cent tax on sugar drinks. So it's already $4.50 to buy a gallon of orange juice. But if you buy a gallon of different juice, every other juice that doesn't claim it's orange juice has a 90-cent sugar tax on it. A couple of them had a little lower, but we're talking about gallons. I don't think any gallons had less than a 90-cent tax. And some of you guys are probably like, man, $4 for a gallon of orange juice? Like, you're definitely not buying that on sale. And yeah. Okay, so I've seen some rather high prices where I'm at. But this is just like how I feel things have been going recently. From like the midsection of 2020, I began to feel very unsafe around here. And I know, like, you have the right wing who wants to fight to protect the city and the nation. And you have the left wing who, like, just thinks everything's always going to go. And they're kind of like at those extremes. And when I'm listening to a lot of these right-wingers talk, and there's only a couple of states like opposing a few things going on here, but this is like a year late. You see the actions already happened. Like, people just sat around, and I don't know what happened, but I ran around in terror, screaming at people. Like, seriously, in 2020, like, I traveled like 10,000 miles, and I spent most of that having the luxury expense of, like, screaming at people that this is not going to last, and they're going to pay for what they're doing. So, I mean, you guys really think like 20, 30, 40% of the population is going to, like, withhold another population? And then we're not even talking about people versus people, because the stuff I've seen since 2020, what are these things around us? How are these even people? if what I'm told a human is, like I've separated myself from that classification a long time ago, and very seriously more recently, but the 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 thing around us, the controlling system. I'm not sure how many of you have actually seen the other world around us versus maybe just talking about it because it's a good you feel it's a good wholesome group with some good values and they talk about the spiritual world around us, right? But I've definitely seen there's something else going on. Like the group's following me. After a while, after a long while, I mean, why didn't they identify themselves? But it kind of doesn't matter. It's a simple fact. Some of this other stuff I've seen existed. And then I've been told for like a long time that I should occasionally interject that, what if we're not supposed to hang on to land? And then, obviously, I get a lot of my learning from other sources. So, Jewish Virtual Library taught me that the people are never to fight for their land and never to be nationalists. And when it comes time for that land to be taken down, then they're not supposed to fight for that, and they're just supposed to move on. I know moving on has some hard consequences beyond just simply getting up and moving away. But I really feel that that's like the safe thing to do. I don't feel safe in this country anymore. Ever since the 2020 stuff, I obviously can't label it anything else, but 2020 is great. I think it's perfect. I like the whole world has been set up, 2020 vision and all this stuff, and with other things that link to the numbers 2020. But I think that most people have probably seen 2020 vision, whether you wear glasses or not, in 2020. And there's a lot of stuff going on there. And I can't help but think that, like, this is the right path and this is the direction people should go. I thought this a long time ago when stuff happened within this nation. I just figured that was the powers above us, like intervening. And from what I've seen, like there's powers above the standard train of thought in this world. No one's ever showed that to me. As many Christian family members as I had, Mormon and all that, I've never had anyone discuss that stuff with me as if they've seen it. But I never seen it till a certain point myself. But I also assume if certain people have seen this, that they decide to shut up and act like they never seen what they seen, because it sounds crazy when you start to talk about this. But look at 2020, like what happened there? Like what really happened there? But anyways, I'm putting that out there because like that's the way I felt for a long time, and that's definitely the way I felt more recently. Is that if things don't change, they got to change one way or another. And then 2020, things really started to change, but across the globe. And then borders were shut down in certain instances, and we can see in Roman times borders were shut down as well to keep their citizens in, who were the workers and stuff like that. And we can also see up where I'm at with the $4 orange juice and the 90-cent. It's a 90-cent sugar tax. That probably means you're still getting like a 10 to 50-cent tax on that $4 from state and all that. Although state's a little bit less up here, so don't quote me on that exactly. I don't know the exact tax code of 10,000 cities I've been to recently. But yeah, for some reason to me, like these verses call out to me, and I mean, I can relate to them because it's like, I think I'm being called out of this place, and in fact, I think I've been stalling on it, but I was worried about how that's going to happen because there's been a bunch of roadblocks in my way, and I'm like, wow, like, so you're going to allow them to put roadblocks in my way when I could, just plan this out and move on. But yeah, with everything I see and the impossibilities sometimes of getting a job that can pay the bills, where I'm at right now, these people, I don't think half of them own cars because they probably couldn't afford it. They're probably paying it all in rent and food. And so they don't have cars. They're spending it all on food and rent. And like it's going to the government, right? But the streets are kind of dirty. Like, why aren't the government like sending out people to pick up cigarette butts and stuff like that, and updating the software properly? Yada 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 yada. Right. So, I just want to put that out there. I've felt this way a long time for several years, but I've not said that in a video. I've said that to some people, but not in a video. That sometimes you think something's yours, and then like you shared it, and maybe it's preoccupied by other people, and you just let it go, and you move on. I've done that several times myself, not with like a huge piece of land or anything, but more recently, many times I've lost. I used to own a lot of stuff, but I gave that up to move on, and in some cases, it's like it's kind of preoccupied by other people. Maybe it's not worth the fight to keep my last few belongings. And maybe my last few belongings are like holding me down to something that I shouldn't be tied down to. I see with the Republicans that there's like 2 states, Texas and something else, maybe Florida and something else. There's 3 that supposedly are just now, a year later, like opposing some of this stuff going on. And the way I see it, like a lot of the damage has already been dealt. It's just a matter of it coming to fruition. And because that has happened, because 2020 has happened, I feel unsafe. I don't need to read words of someone else.